Patrick and Mike. I haven't heard from either of them yet, but I know that Pranati did email me. She has a meeting tonight that's conflicting. However, she will try to make it to the end of the meeting.
Okay. So she's not here. So then why don't we just wait 1 minute and see if Patrick or Mike join?
Sure.
We'll just give it another 60 seconds.
Otherwise, we do have a quorum.
Okay. And Megan, do you expect we're in person next month?
I was going to bring that up during the announcements.
Fair enough.
So we can discuss that then, unless, I guess during the meeting, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay.
I'll call it to order. I will start with roll call. Suzanne?
Present.
We think we do not have Patrick. John?
Here.
Bill?
Here.
Welcome. Kimberly?
Here.
We think we do not have Mike.
Mike is here.
Oh, Mike's here. Good news, Mike. And Mary Lou's on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Great. Does anyone have any comments from the minutes? They were amended. Thank you, Megan. Does anyone have any comments or questions about those? Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the May 20th meeting?
I move that they approved.
Thanks, John. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Mary Lee. Thank you. I will vote in favor. Suzanne?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Kim?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Great. Minutes approved. We'll turn it to Megan for her announcements.
Thanks, Katie. Hi, everyone. So I wanted to update you on a policy change that's happened. So going forward, committee members will now take an oath of office. And it doesn't sound as daunting as it sounds. Essentially, I'll just read it to you really quick so you know what's coming. I, your name, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and that I will faithfully discharge my duties as a member of the Apex Environmental Advisory Board, so help me God. And you will sign that with a notary present, and then that will inspire our next conversation, which is about when we are meeting in person. Obviously, this needs to be signed in person, and we originally discussed that, the town of Apex has decided, based off CDC guidelines, that they would have a full opening July 1st. And so we started discussing whether the board will start meeting in person beginning on the July meeting. So I wanted to open that up for discussion to see if anybody has thoughts, reservations about that. And then, of course, we will be planning on having those oath of offices done at that meeting in person.
Does anyone have concerns or questions about meeting in person?
It's Marilyn, and I assume we'll be following the guidelines of if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask, but if you aren't, you will wear a mask, or is everybody wearing a mask?
I believe Apex is following CDC guidelines, so if you've been vaccinated, you're not required to wear a mask. If you have not been vaccinated, you should wear a mask when indoors.
Thank you.
And Megan, do you know if we would meet in the smaller room where we used to meet, or in the large room where we met once last summer?
I think that it would be beneficial to meet downstairs in the training room, the larger room, because it does have that call-in feature in case there is somebody who's not able to make it but could call in. There's also an opportunity in the town hall, a room that could allow us to have virtual while in person, and I can inquire if that's an option. The room's a little bit larger, and we can see if you'd prefer that option. But I'm assuming the larger room would probably be the go-to, but we're flexible.
I feel comfortable with that. I would like there to be a call-in option for anyone who doesn't feel comfortable coming in person.
Of course.
Is there any?
I second the call-in option. I found out like a month and a half ago my husband's deploying in July, so it'll just be me and my son. So I will do my best to be in person, but it's kind of hit or miss with babysitting.
Yeah, that was my next question. Is there anyone who knows that they would not be able to be in person in July? Okay. Megan and Suzanne know I may not be able to make it because of work, in which case Suzanne will take the lead. I'm not sure yet. That sounds great. So I think that sounds good, Megan. You'll let us know where we're going to meet.
Great. Sounds good. And Kim, if you're not able to make it to some of the meetings, we can certainly organize a time that works best for you where you can come sign the oath of office.
Yeah, I'll let you guys know. I'm not really sure what the next 4 weeks of my life looks like.
Okay, great. That concludes my announcements. I have other updates, but that'll be later on the agenda.
Great. We'll move to committee updates.
Hello again, everybody. That's me. Our committee updates so for Bee City, start with Bee City. Their meeting is next week. Next week is actually Pollinator Week, and we are unclear what is happening for Pollinator Week. The last we heard, they are having an event at the new Pollinator Garden at the Nature Park, and so we will await their cue, and once we find out any information about any Pollinator Week events, activities, or a Nature Park Pollinator Garden event, we'll let you know. So you'll have access if you'd like to join or show up to those events. They are going to start discussing Peak Fest. So I know in our last meeting we discussed, which other committees, particularly Bee City and Tree Cap, are looking into Peak Fest and what are they going to give away, and thinking about literature and messaging so that there's no overlap and it all blends together harmoniously. They are going to start talking about Peak Fest next week, so I think they'd be open to hearing what the board is interested in doing already. So totally open to that. For the Tree Citizens Advisory Panel, they met on June 3rd. We have invited them. They don't have their own booth for Peak Fest. And by the way, Bee City will be joining the Halley Cultural Arts Center booth. So they'll be joined together. We invited Tree Cap to join the Sustainability Program booth. So they will be rotating in and out at our booth, which will hopefully be next to yours. And so they have some news. They have 3 prospective members. They have 2 member seats that are open. So I have a feeling that soon those seats will be full and Tree Cap will be a full member board again, which is exciting. And then lastly, the tree planting grant program was approved, which is very exciting. There was one revision to the program, which is that instead of residents going through their own contractors to plant the trees, the town would have their own contractor, just one single contractor that they go through, they manage that side of it. And that will start in October, so Peak Fest is going to be a great time to start advertising. Outside of committee updates, I do have updates on the sustainability program, and that would conclude my updates. Are we ready to hear those now? Okay. A couple things. So we started a community coalition. It's called the Apex Community Coalition, and this is a committee formed by Val and I, inspired by Val and I, from people that we've heard around the community that were interested in the environment or sustainability or had a stake or worked in the field. We just have heard and met so many people over this last year, and I've sort of collected them on the side and decided to reach out to them and play Yenta matchmaker. And the purpose of this committee is to be 100% community run. And so they had their second meeting a week and a day ago, and in that meeting they established 5 subcommittees that they're going to start working on. It's exciting because these members are really engaged, so I think they're going to do great work. And those subcommittees are education, energy, preservation, schools, and sustainable transit. So that's the Community Coalition. I can keep you all updated on their work and what they're inspired to do. And then lastly, we have received our budget updates for this next fiscal year, and we're really, really excited about it. So one, I just want to have a round of applause for Val because she is official on our team now.
Congratulations, Val.
Thank you. I'm so excited. So excited. Thank you guys.
This is great news.
We're happy to have her as a permanent part of our team. And in addition, I'll just list off a few other things that we were approved for. We are going to have an Earth Week event next year. We were approved for this energy management software called Impura. Building energy assessments on all town buildings. A zero waste operations goal. A pilot town living wall project. And a pilot community garden project. And we will also create a green revolving fund, which is basically a small circular economy concept where we'll invest into sustainable projects, and those savings from those projects will come back into the fund. So hopefully we won't have to keep asking for money and we keep on circling through. And then one last piece of exciting news, we did ask for funds for the Environmental Advisory Board. And we were approved for a total of $5,000 for this next year. $4,000 is included under educational booth and supplies, and $1,000 is for educational brochures.
Hey.
Good job.
Thanks, everyone.
The part we're most excited about is meeting Bill.
Well, I'm excited to be here.
Bill, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us how long you've lived in Apex, what your background is, what your interest is that drove you to the EAB?
Well, I escaped Los Angeles in 1996 and came to Apex because of the beautiful place to live, and I had a job, of course. But in 1999, I decided to run for council. I was concerned about the growth and the way it was going. Stayed there for 20 years. Went through a council that was very conservative, and then on over to a council that was pretty liberal. So it was an interesting ride. My main interest there was just environmental aspects. That's why I'm kind of here at this time too. The things that I like to do are all outdoors. I love going backpacking, although I find that I've got a hip problem now, so we'll see. I'll have to find a horse or something. But just love the outdoors, and I hope that by being here, I can do just a little bit more. That's all.
Thanks.
And I should say I have a wonderful wife and son and a couple of children from a previous marriage. I tell people I've been married 46 years and it took me 2 wives. So anyhow, that's my life in a nutshell.
Let us know if you have any questions. I know you had your orientation, so just feel free to reach out if you have any further questions.
I will certainly do that. Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here.
Katie, if I could
go ahead, Brett.
This is Brett. I just want to say that I had the pleasure of serving with Bill on the town council his I guess his last 2 years of his long career of service in town council. And one thing that I think you'll see from Bill is he's passionate about solar, and I think he's probably single-handedly responsible for many of the solar panels that are in Apex. And I think we're going to become a regional leader in that. I think it's because of Bill. So I'm really excited he's on this committee, and I think he'll do great things in this committee.
Thank you, Brett. And it was town council that approved all of that. So, and Drew Higgins did an outstanding job of getting it in. And I just, being as Brett said something, I'd like to say that Brett and I installed 4 birdhouses in the community park a little while back and had a good time doing it. And Brett, I stopped by the community park and checked those out. I only checked 5 of them out because of my hip problem. I can't get around very well. And all 5 had been taken. So it's exciting. We've done a little something for the community park for birds.
Thank you. Patrick, I see you've joined us also. Thank you.
Yes, my apologies. We've been going through internal audits and it's exhausting, so I am here. Sorry about that.
Sounds good. We'll get you on the attendance.
Hey, welcome, Bill. How you doing, sir?
Good to be here. Thank you.
Great. Megan, I think we're ready for our presentation.
All right, well, we have Leanne here with us from Triangle Land Conservancy. We're really excited to host her tonight and have a presentation all about Triangle Land Conservancy and how it might relate to the board.
Great, thanks so much for having me. Typically I'm a Zoom person, so excuse any mishaps with this presentation, but I'm hoping, can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm Leanne Hammerbacher. I'm with Triangle Land Conservancy. I'm our Director of Land Protection and Stewardship for our eastern area. And have been talking with Megan and Val and several other folks across various initiatives in Apex and the surrounding area. And Megan asked if we would come and just give a brief update on some of our work. So I'll give about a 10-minute presentation and then hopefully have time for a few questions afterwards. But I think feel free to stop me along the way as well. So hopefully y'all are familiar with Triangle Land Conservancy, or TLC for short, but if you're not, we're a local land trust. We are a 501c3. We've been in existence since 1983 and have helped protect about 21,000 acres across the 6-county Triangle region. Our mission is here, and that is to create a healthier and more vibrant Triangle region by safeguarding clean water, protecting natural habitats, supporting local farm and food, and connecting people with nature. This is the 6-county region we work in, which includes Apex, obviously, Wake County, Johnson County, Orange, Durham, Lee, and Chatham counties. You can see the green dots here are the conservation project we have worked on through our existence, and then you can see these green blocks as well, which are our priority areas, as well as our orange dots, which are our public nature preserves open to the public. So we run a system of 9 nature preserves, which includes 1 canoe access on the Deep River. But the rest of our nature preserves have trail systems, are open dawn to dusk every day. 2 of our preserves, Brumley and Williamson Preserve, allow for mountain biking as well. And those 2 preserves do close on occasion due to rain and trail conditions. The last slide wasn't quite updated with our latest priority areas, which include a bit of Apex. We've had a long-standing water quality initiative in Falls Lake, partnering with Durham and the City of Raleigh to protect land in that watershed. And recently, in the last couple of years, have been trying to replicate that initiative for Jordan Lake, which obviously includes a fair amount of Apex's jurisdiction and is the primary drinking water resource for the town. As you can see from the last slide, we protect land all over the region, but just focus our energy planning efforts and much of our fundraising for land protection in these priority areas. Our mission statement includes our 4 main public benefits, which are protecting natural habitats. This picture on the bottom is actually a longleaf forest that is right outside of Apex on a 60-acre farm. Connecting people with nature, so our trails and preserves. We have about 44 miles of trail on the ground. Most of these are 18-inch single-track trails. As I mentioned, we have 2 preserves that are open to biking. The rest of the trail system is for walking and hiking. To our Brumley Preserve, we get about 30,000 visitors a day. We also operate 2 farm preserves, one outside of Carrboro, and then our latest preserve, which is Williamson Preserve in eastern Wake County. This is a map of that latest preserve. It has about 9 miles of trail on the ground and also has a working farm. We have 4 farm partners on site working on various initiatives, and our goal is that we can provide land at a low cost and make it a little bit easier for new and beginning farmers to scale up and accelerate their production practices. So our third main goal here is supporting local food and farms. Obviously, we do that through the work I just talked about. We also hold conservation easements across the triangle and have helped protect about 5,700 acres of farmland through easements and acquisition. Our last main benefit that I wanted to talk about and spend a little more time on is our protecting clean water benefit. We work to protect water across the region, particularly in our drinking water supply reservoirs. We've had a long-term initiative that I mentioned that is our Upper News Clean Water Initiative. This project has been going on for about 15 years now, and TLC with several partners have helped protect about 10,000 acres of land and over 100 miles of stream in the Falls Lake watershed. This initiative is primarily funded through a volumetric water fee that the City of Raleigh has in place for its customers, including those in Raleigh city limits, as well as all the merger communities they serve, like Knightdale, Garner, etc. And this small fee, which typically costs a residential customer less than 50 cents a month, generates over $2 million a year that helps support land protection. The unique thing about this program is just having that little bit or a big bit of source money from the City of Raleigh, and City of Durham also participates. We've been able to leverage this funding with state and federal resources and landowner donations at a 7-to-1 ratio. We love this program so much. We've been working with TJ Cog and several other partners to try to get a similar initiative started in Jordan Lake. And several years ago, we took on an effort to create a conservation strategy based on a similar model to the Upper Neuse for the Jordan Lake Reservoir. Of course, this is a bit bigger watershed. You're going all the way from Greensboro to Apex, but we did a large-scale GIS analysis and looked at a variety of factors shown on the previous slide and worked with multiple stakeholders to set realistic goals for conservation in the watershed. About 92% of this watershed is unprotected. There's also a significant amount of farm and forest land and private ownership in this watershed, so we feel like there's real potential to replicate a similar model to the Falls Lake watershed and really make some great strides in land protection to protect our source waters and our drinking water resources. We've set a goal of protecting 35,000 acres with partners across this area over the next 35 years. So how do we protect lands, or when we're talking about source water protection? Well, the 3 main strategies that our organization uses are conservation easements, conservation sales and donations, and then assists in transfers of land. So I'll give you a quick example of each one of these. So first is a conservation easement. This is actually a project we did that was funded by that City of Raleigh Watershed Protection Program. And with the conservation easement, the landowner, and in this case, multiple landowners, this property is owned by Earthsea Collective, a collective of black and brown farmers in Durham. And they had a property 11 acres, and 36 acres came up for sale adjacent to them. We were able to work with them to actually help purchase a conservation easement on that property and help them buy that additional land. Most of the time with conservation easements, we're working with existing landowners, but we're also hoping to do more of these projects where we're able to help folks who want to buy land and farm or own it and help offset the cost, but at the same time protecting the water resources. The second main way we protect the land is either folks sometimes are very generous and donate land outright to us, and then we also purchase properties. This is an example of a donated property that is actually within Apex's jurisdiction. At the corner of Green Level Church and Green Level West Roads, the White Oak Greenway goes right through there. And we had a very generous landowner who had 23 acres remaining on a property there and donated it to TLC. It's a great way to preserve a much larger corridor than your typical 50-foot or 100-foot greenway corridor, and to have this surrounding 22 acres around it, I think creates a much nicer experience in this area, as well as protecting critical wetlands and floodplain. The last main way we work is through assists and transfers. So this, again, is in Eastern Wake County. We have an initiative, one of our priority areas is the Marks Creek Rural Lands Initiative. And all these properties here are properties we have either helped Wake County or Johnson County and Town of Clayton protect. So the red outline is the parcel that TLC owns. The remaining of the projects are properties that we have either helped protect and transferred to another agency or helped support things like grants and funding resources on the projects. So there's a lot of different tools and planning tools we're seeing various environmental boards and planning boards use across the region. And you can't see the most important part at the bottom, the funding for all this, but various tools like looking at your VADs and your voluntary agricultural districts and ordinances and helping support soil and water and other groups and enrolling local farms and projects into those areas. Developing priority areas, looking at existing plans like the Jordan Lake plan we did and various other habitat plans that have been developed in the area to really prioritize land conservation. Helping develop habitat corridors and looking at conservation subdivisions. I know Chatham County has a conservation subdivision ordinance that can help give density bonuses and other kind of carrots to developers if they're setting aside special priority areas like natural heritage areas, that kind of thing. Working on buffer ordinances on streams, stormwater measures, etc. Helping support local agriculture, especially on the fringes, just outside of the town's jurisdiction, and then really working with your boards and your elected officials and leaders in the community to help support funding for all of these efforts and conservation projects. So that was a quick overview, but I'm happy to pause now and take any questions and refer back to anything anyone has questions on. And I will try to get out of here.
Sorry, I was on mute. Does anyone have any questions for me?
I have a question. Leanne, that map you showed, I guess, that was the Cape Fear watershed where you were sort of identifying the properties, like sort of your action area. Was that a parcel by parcel identification, or was that just general areas you were identifying? Sort of one that had, like, I think, orange on it, sort of?
Yeah, so what we did was we developed a raster-based model, so then we can zone that or look at an individual parcel and see how it scores. We tend to not, have parcel-based maps front and center. One thing I forgot to mention is we do only work with voluntary landowners. So we want to work with landowners who want to do conservation, and sometimes landowners don't want their properties exactly highlighted as the highest priority on the map.
And so what's the resolution of the rasters? Are they 30 by 30 meters?
Yes.
Okay. And do you all happen to have that as like a map service you could share?
Don't have it as a map service, but I could share that data and information with folks, because that would be helpful.
I would be interested in that. And how often do you rerun the model? How often is it updated?
We just completed this plan 3 years ago. Our typical schedule has been about every 5 years or so. A lot of the plan, not to get too far down in the weeds, but is based on national land cover data, and that's only updated every 5 years or so, so it doesn't do us a whole lot of good to try to update it every year or something.
Yeah. If you wouldn't mind sharing that, I don't know if it would be easier to share the whole data set or just clip it to the Apex area. I would appreciate that.
Okay. If I'll share my email, and if y'all could share good email, it's probably pretty big, so we might have to figure out a good way to transfer information.
Okay. Why don't I just get in touch with you directly? Or actually, yeah, I'll just get in touch with you directly.
Sounds good.
And ladies and Patrick Adams, is Mike Whitehead still with you guys?
No, he's not.
I hadn't worked with him in a while, but I have worked with you guys on several different projects.
Oh, great.
With the transfer.
Yeah, and I guess I should mention we have a staff of about 22. Myself and Brenna Thompson primarily focus on land protection in Lake County, but our main office is in downtown Durham, although we've all been primarily working remotely this last year, like everyone, I think. And then we have a satellite office as well at that Williamson Farm property in eastern Lake.
What can we do to help your mission?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it. I think really advocating for these high priority areas and conservation funding. I mean, as y'all know, development is just rampant, especially in the Apex area. And, it's critical to look at some of these tracts for both habitat value, but also protecting water supply. And, there's not a lot we can do once a tract goes on the market or, is sold. In that case, it is helpful, I think, as y'all review plans to look at some of the natural features and priorities and make recommendations to developers, et cetera, on how they can put open space set-asides or incorporate those features into their developments. I mean, we're seeing a lot of times, developments will pop right up next to a conservation easement on a property we protected. And if we could work with the developer to maybe set his open space aside or her open space aside adjacent to these protected properties, it would really extend the value. Things like tree ordinances, a lot of the work y'all are already doing, but then lastly, I think really advocating for the town to help set aside resources and funding for open space protection. We've had some talks. Carrie has actually committed $750,000 per year for the next 20 years after they're out of their capital improvement projects for their water management to watershed protection. And I know Apex has committed some funding, but I know, and I think was going to commit more, but then of course COVID hit and no one knew what their budgets were going to contain. So continuing to work with the town to try to fund a source water protection program, especially with Jordan Lake. If we're able to get all the towns and utilities on board, we could easily generate, we ran some cost calculations on it, close to $3 million a year or so for land protection, which if we're able to leverage that with state and federal grants, it can really go a long way. So helping advocate for that and also helping advocate for protecting land and protecting resources, not just within Apex's jurisdiction, but within the Jordan Lake watershed, so that we can continue to protect the long-term drinking water supplies and the wildlife corridors leading through into Apex and its ETJ. And I guess my development folks would also want me to say we are a member-based organization, so our work is primarily supported by our members. And the other thing I would say is get out, enjoy preserves. Our 9 nature preserves are open to the public. White Pines down in Chatham County may actually be our closest large preserve to Apex. It's probably only a 15-20-minute drive. It's at the confluence of the Deep and Rocky Rivers and is one of my favorite preserves that we have.
Do we have any further questions for Leanne?
Leanne, this is Shelley Mayo. I'm the planner assigned to the group. Just wondering, do you guys have a GIS file that has the locations of your easements? Because I don't think that that's something that we have, and the planning staff generally meets with developers before they even submit, before they even generally speak to this board, and we'd be willing to encourage them to reach out to y'all if we knew where your conservation easements were.
Yeah, we're happy to share those. Sometimes we're a little hesitant to have them displayed on maps because one thing about our easements is that it does not guarantee public access. So it's the only thing we're cognizant of with sharing data, but we'd be more than happy to share them with you for internal review purposes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leanne.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks, Leanne. Great to see you.
Yeah.
Megan, am I correct in saying we've had the sustainability program updates?
Yes, yeah, and sorry about that. I forgot that those were later on the list.
I think all of us feel fine about that. I don't think anyone, I feel fine. But it does mean it's time to hear from the Dark Sky Working Group.
Sorry, my mic would not unmute. So we met a couple weeks ago. We will meet again this coming Friday. The last meeting, we spoke with a representative from Duke as well as a representative from the electrical group with the town. We talked a little all over the place about requirements and how we can enforce different things, what they would like to see, what steps they're taking. We are supposed to be getting a list of fixtures that Duke offers so that we can see, kind of compare and see, so we can nudge people in a direction that we would like to go, and that way we don't say, hey, we want this type of fixture, and then it's not even available. So it was a good meeting. I think there's a lot of helpful conversation there. And then this coming Friday, or next Friday, sorry, not tomorrow, but next Friday, we are going to get together again and go through the International Dark Sky Association, their recommendation, and try and pick out the things that we think are most appropriate and something that we can actually request and enforce. As recommendations for both the UDO and for the EAB when we make our recommendations. So I think it's going to be a fairly lengthy work in process as we go, but we're on the right path.
Sounds wonderful. This is great work. Thank you.
Hey, Katie, I think it's also worth mentioning that the town council passed the 3,500K external lighting ordinance in the UDO.
Great.
In the last few meetings. So that's one that you guys only had to ask for now. It'll be in the UDO. It'll be kind of the baseline now.
I think that's wonderful. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Kim? Great. I don't know who got a chance to look at the swag options for Peak Fest, but I enjoyed looking at them. There were so many that I did ask Megan if she would make a recommendation to us. So I'm really curious, Megan, to hear what your recommendation is.
Absolutely. So I'm going to share my screen. Hey, can you all see that?
Yes.
The Word document? Great. Okay. So first I wanted to report, we have reached out to find event data about the number of people who are showing up and if there are any demographic information. We haven't been able to locate it yet. However, I do know that we have it displayed on the website. For Peak Fest, there's normally hundreds of vendors and around 15,000 people who show up to Peak Fest. It could look a little differently now here in 2021, coming off of COVID and all the CDC guidelines, and might look different in September, but that's around the number of people that we could be seeing. I just highlighted the key topics that we identified from last time, which were dark sky, pollinators, and recycling or waste management. And so I identified a few things here. So for specifically swag giveaways, we were thinking trees. Of course, Tree Cap doesn't have a plan yet about their giveaways. We just invited them to our booth. So I'm sure that you could share the love and also give away trees. We have a good contact for that through the Community Coalition, and also a potential new member on Tree Cap is volunteering with Leaf and Limb. Currently has almost 30 hazelnut trees that we're looking for a place to plant. So if you do know of any place for hazelnut trees, we have them, but that's a resource for trees.
I'm sorry, would you repeat what kind of tree?
Hazelnut.
Okay. All right. I might have to look that one up.
Sure. And it does bear the nuts, the hazelnuts. So it could be a great addition. We also identified a few items that are on the cheaper end that could maximize the cost here, so that you can purchase more of them, so you have more to give away. All of these items we've researched and coordinated with promotional partners, and for the most part from promotional partners, although we're able to access outside of that source. Items that have a reusable benefit and have been made from sustainable materials. So of course, we want to think about this in a full systems approach, where we are giving literature or we're offering giveaways about environmental, sustainable, resilient ideas and initiatives, and so the product should be sourced accordingly and mirror those efforts. So the Frisbee, the Harvest Flying Disc, I know it's made from plant-based materials. There's also a reusable straw kit. There's several different types, including one with a bottle opener. a travel utensil set, all things that people could very definitely use, and I think are becoming more popular. Reusable tote bags, that's a given. We found a lip balm. It's in the casing's made out of potatoes, interestingly, called Sustainabomb, and an upcycled water bottle. There are many other different products on Promotional Partners website. I'm happy to pull that site up as well. If you have some ideas, we can brainstorm and see what products that Promotional Partners offers, and we can do a search tool. Those are just a few that we've seen that would be good handouts, good swag giveaways that we could buy in bulk, right?
Just out of curiosity, what's I had a chance to look at it, but collapsible dog water bowls.
Ah, nice. Okay. Well,
I think if you're out on the greenways and you're doing this kind of stuff, have something like that where your dog will be able to collapse it down or up, and then give them water. So just going out there.
Well, and people actually bring their dogs to Peak Fest all the time. So, if nothing else, that would be an awesome way to draw people to the booth. Suzanne's over here laughing at me, but it's true.
There's a couple of different ones on their website. I just searched.
Awesome.
They're very handy. I can vouch for them.
Awesome. And Patrick, you've inspired another thought for me. I was thinking about compostable doggy bags. Could be a good option as well. So it's not like the flashy, tree or frisbee, but that's certainly useful. I'm sure people would love with their dogs to get a roll of dog bags that are compostable. Any other comments on the swag giveaways in particular?
Well, I'll just say, I guess I'll wait till you said Tree Cap is going to join us in our booth. Is that right, or was it sustainability booth?
It's sustainability, so you'll have your own booth.
Okay, all right. Because I wasn't going to say anything yet because I don't know how many y'all actually get to live through the summer, but all of the tree saplings, I was going to see about thinking about digging, potting those and having those for giveaways. So, yeah, maybe we can, they won't be by themselves then if Tree Cap's going to be there. That would be good.
Fantastic. Yeah, that would be great. I think we're looking for tree donations to give away.
Okay.
All right. And in addition, so for the literature, I know you mentioned seed paper and magnets before. So there's certainly a bunch of options for seed paper. It's generally pretty cheap. To actually go back a step on the giveaways, there's many different products and shapes for seed paper. So there, for example, there's one that's a fan, and the whole thing, the stick and the fan itself, is seed paper that you can later plant. So you can put promotional messaging on the fan, and you can give it to people to fan themselves off in the September heat.
I think that's a good idea. That one is really good.
Great. And of course, general, and that can have messaging on it. We can also have other shapes and just regular pamphlets, flyers that are made of seed paper that have messaging, educational outreach items on them. We also mentioned magnets, found a few magnets on Promotional Partners, and also the idea of QR codes for resource links. So I know that we're starting to explore resources and where to point people for education, and I think that this could potentially serve as a good option since everybody usually has their phone, or could take a picture, right? We could have something that they could take a picture of. Any comments on literature? Okay. And then, of course, the more interactive, the better. It brings people into the booth and actually gives you the opportunity to speak with them, have a conversation, and get them engaged to give those swag items to them and the literature. So a few items, a few things that Val and I brainstormed on. One is to have a wheel, like a prize wheel to spin. Either they can just spin the wheel and they get the swag item that they spin on, or this could be a wheel for like the ultimate swag. So you buy in bulk the cheaper items that you can get more of that you readily hand out, and then maybe a few items that are a little more expensive that are the ultimate swag, and maybe there could be a quiz or a game involved where they have to answer a question or play the game in order to spin. A few ideas for this, we found the planter kit from Goofy Group, and you're able to either grow a flower or grow herbs in that planter kit. And then on top of that, we could also give out gift cards. There's some Elk Local Foods just opened up in downtown Apex. I know Mission Market also sells sustainable products, Apex Farmers Market. So could keep brainstorming that if you like. And then as far as the games or the quizzes go, we talked about a choose the bin option where they have a bunch of items when they have to choose whether it's recyclable or goes to the landfill or gets composted. And then if they do it right, maybe they get a prize. We could also do an interactive reusable t-shirt bag station. I love these because it's like 3 folds. You bring an old t-shirt that you don't want anymore, maybe an old tie-dye shirt. Looks cool, but you're over it at this point, and you cut it into a tote bag that you can bring to put your produce in at the grocery store, or use as a reusable bag. And that's a little more fun and interactive and super easy. We could also do a photo booth and have photo props for people, potentially a background, and have people pose for photos in an environmental context. And then lastly, have a blackboard or whiteboard which has a call and response item. For example, a healthy town of Apex environment looks like, and people who come and visit the booth can write in what they think. So those are all of our ideas so far. Happy to hear what you think, and happy to brainstorm.
I think this is awesome. I feel so grateful that we have creative people on our team because I would not have come up with all of these ideas.
That's what we're here for.
I really like the idea of involving members of our community in telling us what they think a healthy Apex looks like, or what they think their vision of what Apex should be is. I think that's a great idea, and I think that actually meets our mission. That's something we're supposed to be getting in touch with, that we haven't really been able to do so far. So I think that's an excellent idea. Whether it's a whiteboard or a poster, or people write little slips of paper, like a little fortune cookie slip of paper, however we want to do it. I like that idea. I think we need to know more from our community about what they're looking for from us.
Can we combine that with the photo booth idea? Because that would make really good Facebook, Instagram, website type stuff. If we have pictures of citizens holding up what they think it is, especially if it ties in with something we're doing.
I love that.
I'm wondering too if the outdoor store, maybe, I know they're super expensive, so maybe they can't do more than like 1 or 2, but maybe like a hydro flask, reusable water bottle, if we could maybe talk to them as like one of the ultimate swag items or something like that.
Absolutely.
I think we probably want to be realistic about how many, types of games or interactive activities we're going to have. So I think Kim's idea is a great one. Maybe we combine, we do a little blackboard with the photo booth. I think that's super. If we feel like we're going to have enough people manning the tent each part of the day, then maybe we pick one other thing, either like a game that leads to the ultimate swag wheel or the t-shirt station. I think that my question about the t-shirt station is people would have to know in advance to bring the t-shirt they want to recycle.
I think the intention, at least my intention behind that, because you're absolutely correct, is that we could donate t-shirts within the board. You can collect them from friends, and we can just try to collect as many t-shirts as we can and bring them ourselves. And then when they're out, they're out. But ultimately show people how to make them.
I guess for me, I like the choose the bin game for me. I'm open to other opinions on that.
I agree. I think choose the bin will be fun, and I think it's something that will draw some kids in, which will ultimately bring some parents.
And this is Marilyn, and I was just going to offer one word of caution. I know that we're going to not want to overlap with some of the other booths and what they're doing. So before a final decision is going to be made on who's doing what, are we going to at least compare notes?
Absolutely. And I have reached out to V-City and TreeCap, and neither have a plan yet. So I think it would be great if we did solidify a plan. And before purchasing anything, of course, I can present those plans to V-City and TreeCap. And if they have comments on it, then I can report those. Otherwise, if they give us their blessing, then we could move ahead on it. How does that sound?
Great. Megan, what are the hours usually for Peak Fest?
That's a great question. Shelley, do you remember? I think it's something like 9 to 4. It's an all-day thing.
It is. People normally start breaking down around 4 or 5 o'clock. People start arriving as early as 8:30 in the morning sometimes. Normally it doesn't start getting busy until about 9:15 or so, though. If you're going to get there to set up, be prepared. I don't know how many of you have driven past or attended Peak Fest, but all of the direct roads are shut down. So it's not just Salem Street, it's some of the approaches to it as well. But you can get your car close to it in order to set up and break down. You just have to let the police who are directing traffic know. If somebody is not setting up breaking down, plan to park further away, especially if you're getting there in the afternoon. Town halls and community centers parking is frequently used for that. Hopefully all of the parking, definitely all of the parking for the senior center will be done by then. I think it's all done now. With just some space closed off in the back for workers working on the building and finishing things up. The place that is the best option, in my opinion, to find parking is Food Line. I know it seems like a little bit of a walk, but it really isn't. It's like a couple hundred more feet from Town Hall, and you can use the breezeway or the little walk. I can't think of the name of it right now. Little walk from Town Hall up to the Tunstall House and over to Salem Street. It's really quick. There's sidewalk for you to use, and nobody ever thinks about parking at Food Line, so you won't be jam-packed in there with everybody. That's where I park when I end up attending for the planning booth.
Perhaps, Megan, for the next meeting, we can put on the agenda just people signing up for slots, because I think that'll be about 2 months out, and probably most of us need it on our calendar that early to make sure that we don't overbook ourselves.
Absolutely. Would you like to do that at the meeting, or would you like me to send an email and we can have like a sign up sheet?
That's fine too.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
totally fine.
Hey, Katie, just add on the take a bin. Is that where they would actually go in a bin and pull stuff out themselves? Or
I'm not sure I understand.
when you said pick a bin, like one of the things we were like, as opposed to maybe spinning a wheel or whatever, the pick a bin, is that something where they could pick something out of the bins individually, or what is?
I think the idea there is there would be a number of different items that are either recyclable or trash or compostable. And the idea would be for the participating child or adult to decide where the items go.
Gotcha.
We had decided, I think, on 3 educational initiatives for Peak Fest, and one of them was recycling. So I think that was the idea.
Okay. Yeah, I like it.
So I guess we're not at the point of making a motion, but regarding the swag, just my personal idea, and I'm completely open to something else, is that we want to do something that is useful, but also maybe something that not everyone has. So I kind of liked the reusable straw and the travel utensil set, because I felt like that sort of pushed people to maybe make a new habit that was a healthy habit, and because it was novel, people might be more likely to take it and use it.
I would agree with that. I mean, me personally, I have a million tote bags. I don't need another tote bag. So, but I do agree that the travel utensil and straws are probably not things a lot of people have. So I think that's a great idea.
Didn't the environmental group, James, those guys, they had straws last year that changed colors when you drink out of them. So
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, if we're gonna have a t-shirt bag station, I think we might be pushing it by having tote bags too, as well.
Yeah, I agree with Suzanne on tote bags.
I had a question about the straws. Would they be plastic straws under the guise of reusing a plastic straw, or are they the metal ones?
Oh. Detail.
So, this is one that I've been looking at.
Straw detail. It really doesn't tell you anything.
The picture kind of looks like plastic.
Well, so I believe that the obviously it's a metal straw.
Yeah.
And I think that the rest of it that might be silicone.
Okay.
But I can certainly look into that. There are several other options for straws, and yeah, we have lots of straw options here. And we can look at what the material is made of.
Would you show travel utensils also?
Absolutely. This one looks like it's completely metal, which could be good, except for maybe the carabiner. Again, we'll look into that in more detail. This is one of the utensil kits that we found.
Love it.
Again, I have lots of options.
Who else has strong feelings here?
Megan, can you zoom in a little bit? It's a little hard to see.
Sure.
If we do use utensils, can we try and use the bamboo or, metal and avoid some of the plastic ones as well?
There is, I see bamboo. I don't know if I see metal.
When you're saying metal, you're talking about stainless steel, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or aluminum.
or whatever.
I also do really like the idea of doing the collapsible pet bowls. I think that's going to be something that, you know, a little convenient. Not everybody would necessarily want or need it, but I think not as many of those, but some of those would be good.
Yeah, maybe that goes on the prize wheel.
They've got some that are it's not cloth, but it's more of a, it's not really plastic or something like that.
Oh, I think I saw that. Something like this.
Oh.
Yeah.
This. Mm-hmm. And with many of these, you can actually put a logo on it as well, which is exciting. So more messaging opportunities.
I mean, we've got one like that for our dog, and it works really well.
I would say we use John, we do too. I think we got 3 of them that we use just like that. But it's got the carabiner to it versus the
it clips onto the leash really well.
Yep.
Great. Are there any others or any other products in general that anyone would like to see?
I've got a little hesitation about the Frisbee. I don't know. It'd be great for kids, and I know it's environmentally friendly and all, but I'm just not sure whether it goes with our messaging or not.
I agree. Let's do something that's useful.
Giving kids something to do is useful, but I think I'm not sure that's what we want. I like this without the goofy face, but I don't know that we can get away from the goofy face.
I think the goofy face is part of it.
Yeah, I'm afraid it is. But, you know, whatever plants or seeds we have, we need to make sure that they're either herbs or they're North Carolina native.
Right. Really southeast. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't want to mess up our overall thinking on that.
I agree.
But I think they're talking about basil here on these. And
it seems, Megan, the minimum order for anything is 50. Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
So what if we chose like one of these flower or herb sets and did 50, and the dog bowls and did 50, and those go on the prize wheel, and then we choose something else that would do more than 50. That's the giveaway that we give away freely.
Sounds good.
Well, I would definitely work through promotional partners. They are really good to work with, and they can figure out stuff we can't figure out just by looking at their availability of stuff.
I feel comfortable, Megan, given what has been said on this call and taking that into account, in trusting you and Val to make this decision. Do other people feel comfortable with that?
Yeah.
So I will make a motion that Megan and Val are empowered to handle the swag, and that we start the process of doing a photo booth with some sort of like blackboard or messaging, and we start the process of a recycling game of some sort.
Good idea.
Mike, are you still seconding?
Second.
Great. Suzanne.
Aye.
Patrick,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Kim,
Aye.
Marilee.
Aye.
Great. I'm excited. I feel like this is going to be good. This is our big debut. Is there anything else we need to discuss about Peak Fest?
If you're gonna do messaging on the items, what is our messaging gonna be?
I guess
Apex?
I was thinking we would do Apex Environmental Advisory Board so that it would match the tent.
Mhm.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yes, it does.
What's our slogan again?
Make people know that we're out there.
Yeah.
Do we have a slogan or a pitch line or?
We don't, but we could perhaps put the website address. Since in the long run, we hope to have some educational items on the website. And the website also could have this, whatever we decide to do with the handouts or whatever, the website could have links to those things.
Mm-hmm. That works for me.
Cool. Okay, I feel excited. Do we have items for discussion? All right, it's good.
Well, I had a question. Leanne sort of reminded me of it. A while ago, we actually did have a conversation about conservation subdivision. And Shelley, do you perhaps have an update about if that is going anywhere or is it sort of dead in the water?
I'm sorry, Suzanne, could you restate? I had a crackle on my headphones.
A while ago, we discussed the conservation subdivision concept and perhaps, was there a way to sort of bring that forth in Apex or just kind of, discuss it? And you, I guess, we're going to bring it to the... Well, do you have an update on it? I guess, yeah.
Gotcha. So it's not technically the planning board that we would take it to, because we don't really have a way. The planning board doesn't really hear these kinds of policy level proposals that often. So planning committee, believe me, I understand this is confusing. So the town council, which is consists of Brett and Terry, is actually who would normally hear that, so that they could kind of weigh into it. Staff could give feedback, that kind of thing. I am not certain if that has made it to planning committee or not yet. But there's been a lot of things that have popped up in the intervening time, but I can definitely double check. I can say that the town's, although the town's UDO doesn't specifically have a category called conservation subdivision, our ordinance does allow for them, and we have tried to work with some developers to kind of see, to encourage that kind of development wherever possible, especially on properties that have a lot of stream buffers and that kind of thing. We generally tend to see much higher RCA, resource conservation area, numbers than just the bare minimum. I know it may not look like it necessarily, but Sweetwater comes very close to meeting those criteria. Typically, a conservation subdivision has 40% or more resource conserved or undisturbed lands that are set aside. And Sweetwater actually, and this is just an example, because of the way their development is set up, I'm going to try to share this real quick if it's going to let me. Here we go. Because of the property that Sweetwater finds itself on, and that's this larger development here, kind of going across to where it touches Abington, there are very large parcels of land that they could not develop, but also that they wanted to leave untouched when we originally worked with them. They actually have, that's Abington's, sorry, wrong side of the creek, of the property line. They have another larger piece down here that's not letting me click on it for some reason. There we go. So they actually have something close to 30 or more acres of RCA already set aside, just as an example. And once we get the commercial sections built, there will be additional. So we do have the option to do it in our UDO, and we do frequently, especially as we're developing further west, see that happening. This is Smith Farm, which Patrick is intimately familiar with. And these green areas, so these images are from the last week of May. So these green areas are areas that will not ever be developed and will stay green. Some of them, we have a few brown spots at the moment, but that will get green back up. Those are for stormwater ponds. And there's a phase 4 yet to come that preserves a lot of area around the perimeters, but also a large stream through here. So all is not lost, and we do have some developments that are preserving a lot more land than you would think. I will definitely reach out and touch base with Amanda to see if that's gone to Planning Committee. I do know that one of the concerns that staff has is that generally conservation subdivisions are taken advantage of the most in areas where you have very low residential densities permitted. The only area that we currently have that in it, something that would come close to meeting that, is in our rural residential zoning district, or the rural area of the land use map, rather, excuse me. And just to give you guys an idea, this dark green is Army Corps land, and then this kind of vibrant grassy green color here is that rural density area. That's one dwelling unit per 5 acres. Unless you happen to already be living on a lot that was smaller, in which case you're legally allowed to keep your lot that size. But generally, density bonuses work best when you have this very low density. And for most of Apex, that's not the case. Now, it could definitely be taken advantage of more in these general areas, and I anticipate that might be the case moving forward some more. This is a relatively new change to the land use map. We updated our plans. I guess that was first part of January, or January of 2019, I think. It used to be that all of this area was 1 unit per acre, which was a little bit lower than what you typically see being used for conservation subdivisions. It's still a large lot, don't get me wrong, but just the research that we've seen is that generally they get taken advantage of more in very low density areas. So that might start happening more in this general area, but we have areas with significant RCA being saved even without that particular benefit at the moment.
Okay.
We would love to see
that. That is interesting because, I couldn't tell from Leanne's map, but some of these areas in that, not the Army Corps, but the next level of green do seem to be the same areas they're focusing on for water quality. So that would be nice if it could get taken advantage of, or there was some way to promote it or something.
Well, so we do have an off-site RCA option in the UDO. I'm going to try to change my window real quick. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to do my whole page. And one of the options for this is, and sorry for my text being, I pulled it out of the UDO, so it's a little much to see, but in order to qualify as off-site RCA, it has to either be deeded to the town or another qualified land management agency, including Triangle Land Conservancy, or a recorded conservation easement with the state, or the same type of situation as Triangle Land Conservancy. It used to be that this was very difficult to implement, and we hadn't had anybody use it. We also hadn't been running up into situations where development, especially in the downtown or redevelopment of existing sites, was having problems meeting the RCA requirement. We're starting to see that, though. And in those situations, we've been strongly encouraging this option. It may make a given individual development maybe look not as lush as we typically think of, but most people don't really, I mean, when you drive up to Target, for example, do you realize how much is on Target's property that's not developed? Because most people don't. So it might not change public perception by all that much either.
Most people don't know that Target has solar panels as well.
Yeah, they're fun too. They've got interesting stuff. Mm-hmm. Here we go. Nope.
Hey, Shelley, I would also add a little tidbit that you may not know, and this is for Suzanne too. I've had a chat with the developer in one of these 1 per 5 acre lot land use map parcels that thought that was like absurd that we did that, and I told him that I would be willing to go for a higher density if they did the low impact development, the conservation development. And so that development, I don't believe has come to this committee yet, but it might. And before the guy gave the talk to you guys, I was going to remind you all that this 1 per 5 acre was done on purpose and not by accident, and it was to encourage, in theory, long term at least, this kind of development from happening. So I'm not sure this is going to come as a 1 per 2 acre or 1 per 5 acre development, but it might, and I think this committee would be well served to kind of suggest that we do that in that case. I don't want to tell which one it is at this point because it may not ever happen, but I
think I know who you're talking about.
Based on the presentation that I've heard from this committee. So hopefully this will be a case where you guys can suggest that strongly, and it may happen.
Staff will definitely make sure to let him know that too, if you're okay with me conveying that.
And
I'll go ahead and tell you.
Site RCA. Oh, go ahead, Brett. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I'll go ahead and say which one it is. It's the one where your mouse is on right now, around that area.
I couldn't help myself. I was looking at it.
Yeah. Around that area is the one we were talking about. So, right. That's the one where I thought that'd be a good chance to showcase this conservation subdivision. And the person that I was talking to was not very interested in that. But I said, I'd be willing to say even higher density if you can kind of consolidate the houses in a small area and then have the rest be natural. So I'm not sure if you guys ever see that or not, but that's what I said. Based on this committee's, you guys research and all that happened so far. That was the inspiration for me suggesting that. So we'll see what happens with that one.
I can pass that on to Diane and Amanda, the planning director and assistant, as well. But yeah, I mean, this was done deliberately. It was done with a lot of citizen feedback. This wasn't something that we just thought of off the cuff. The one problem that the planning has recently, I don't want to say realized, but has had it come fully into our normal daily mental processes is that Wake County currently allows higher density in this area than we do. And most of this is not in our jurisdiction. Or even in our extraterritorial jurisdiction. So it's possible that some of these that we would like to see develop at a lower density may be able to go through Wake County. And that's only if they can figure out how to deal with water and sewer. So just a thought. But we have been actively working with people in the area and talking to them about their options and everything.
Suzanne, they be coming to Apex to extend the water and sewer facilities?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we've got a little bit of sway with them?
We do. If they want water and sewer, which generally means in this area that you have to have at least an acre and a half. I mean, as you guys all know, clay doesn't lend itself to perking all that well. And the closer you get to the lake, the higher the water table is. So you need a large site to be able to find a decent perk site for the septic. So generally, people do want to come in and redevelop with water and sewer. Apex has great water, has great sewer services. So that's what we've been seeing. It's just sometimes it's difficult for a developer to be able to justify the cost of, say, building a road, especially the public road standards, under the kinds of densities that we're seeing. So that's why we may see it come to the town. We may see it coming in from as a Wake County development. Suzanne, you sounded like you were going to ask me something about the offsite RCA.
Yeah. So has anybody actually deeded land to the town to hold? Like, what does that look like? Are there deed restrictions on that offsite RCA if it's deeded to the town, so the town doesn't use it with something, not that they would, but inconsistent with conservation? Or how does that work?
We haven't had anybody use it just yet. Now, it used to be before this got updated that you had to go through a quasi-judicial public hearing, and it was updated in March. And what that means is basically you had to get town council to approve it, and to approve it with fairly limited criteria and fairly limited types. I'm going to zoom out just so you guys get an idea of how many criteria we have now. So town council agreed with staff that in order to get this used more frequently, to start seeing it, that we needed to make it less, that we need to make it clearer what was considered good or acceptable RCA, and we needed to make it a by right option so that people don't have to go to town council to ask for special permission, because depending on their timeline, that could delay their approvals, 2 to 3 months. Also depending on council's agenda. We've had some very large ones in the past, and the next month has nothing. So sometimes things get bumped because there's no way to get through it all in one night. So we made those 2 changes. We made this something that staff can approve, that is available to people by right, but we added very specific criteria to it to make it clear the kinds of areas that we were looking for. And we also worked with town council and some of the other groups to exclude places that were always going to be preserved anyway. So for example, that's the reason why only the zone 2 or zone 3 of the riparian buffers will be preserved. There are two types of buffers, the 50-foot, and Jessica, if I step on my toe, if I misspeak, correct me, please. But there's the 50-foot buffer that's required for intermittent streams, so streams that frequently have water in them, but not always. And then there's a 100-foot buffer for perennial streams, the ones that always have water in them, or almost always at least. And the zone 3 is the outer 50 feet of that perennial stream buffer. And zone 2 is just inside of that, and I think it's the outer 30 feet of the first bit. Yeah, dang it. I knew I was going to say something wrong.
It's okay. Zone one's just wider to protect it a little bit more. So zone 1 is 30 feet. You're on a roll, though, Shelley. Keep it up.
So zone 1's always going to be protected. We don't allow hardly anything in there. So we made it so that it was zone 2 and 3 so that we would be able to get something that's a little bit extra special, if that makes sense. So at this point, we have not had anybody take advantage of this. We have currently 4 potential projects that are looking at the option. We are trying to find people that we know are willing to sell their land in order to help with conservation. So we will probably be reaching out to the Triangle Land Conservancy for some of their contacts, or just setting us up with people who might be interested. But we're also trying to encourage this. Once it does, if say the town is the one who accepts the deed for the property, though, there would be deed restrictions on that. It's going to we would work with the town's legal department to make certain that any resource conservation area essentially, I don't want to say it would have a conservation easement over it, but it would have a similar impact.
Okay, thank you. I'm very interested to see how this plays out. It's kind of
Me too.
very interesting.
Mm-hmm. And we have been specifically encouraging people to come out to the Lake Jordan area to look for it, since that is our main watershed area and everything.
Thanks, Shelley. Does anyone have any other items for open discussion?
I have an item, but based on the time, I'm fine holding it over to next month. It has to do with that 240 volt requirement and the email that Megan sent out this afternoon. I'm fine waiting until next month to talk about it. Everybody wants to go ahead and get off. Or we can talk, or I can just speak to it now. I don't care.
If you decided to hold it off to next month, I can add it to the agenda if you like.
That'll work. That's good.
Sounds great. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Second. Vote in favor. Suzanne?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Kim?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Thank you all very much. I look forward to seeing your faces in person in 1 month.
Good evening.
Megan, thank you as always.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, staff.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks. Bye.
Good night, everyone.